All right, let's dive into something that's really changing the game in AI, function calling. Seriously, this is the tech that gives language models hands. It lets them stop just talking about things and actually start doing them. So, let's break down how it all works and, more importantly, how you can use it to build some incredibly powerful stuff. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big idea of going from just chatting to taking action. Then we'll pop the hood and see how it works. After that, we'll talk about building this stuff for the real world, safely. We'll even see how it stacks up against some alternatives. And finally, we'll lay out a clear path for you to get started.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the big picture. This is all about moving our AI from being a simple chatbot to, an active partner in our digital lives. This quote just nails it, right? It used to be that we could ask an AI to write an email for us, but we could never ask it to actually send the email. Function calling? That's the missing link that changes absolutely everything.
Think of it like this. The AI model is this brilliant brain, but it's stuck in a box. Function calling is the bridge that connects that brain to the real world, to your email, to your calendar, your company's database, you name it. It's the bridge from just language to real practical action.
So, what can you actually do with this? Well, you could ask your AI to draft and send that follow-up email you've been putting off. Or find an open slot in your calendar and schedule a meeting. Or how about this? Update a customer record in your CRM, right from a chat prompt. It can pull sales numbers, search the web. This isn't science fiction anymore. This is stuff you can build right now.
So we've seen what it can do, which is awesome. But now, let's get into the how. How on earth does the model know which tool to pick up and what to do with it? Let's take a look.
Okay, here's the magic. Instead of getting back a normal sentence, your app gets a very specific, machine-readable instruction. It's this neat little package, a JSON object, that basically says, hey, run the send email tool. The recipient is jane@example.com, and the subject is meeting follow-up. See? Super clear.
The whole process is really just a simple loop. First, you, the developer, define your tools. You give the AI a kind of user manual for each one. Step 2, when a user asks for something, the AI figures out which tool to use and sends back that structured JSON command. And finally, and this is super important, your application code gets that command and is the one that actually executes the function. The AI doesn't run the code itself, it just tells your code what to run. You're always in control.
And that is the secret sauce. By defining the tools so clearly, giving them a name, a description, the exact arguments they need, you create what's basically a clear contract. The AI knows exactly what to ask for, and your app knows exactly what to expect. That solid structure is what makes the whole system so reliable.
All right, so we get what it is, we get how it works, but, giving an AI the power to take real actions, that sounds a little risky, doesn't it? And that brings us right to our third section, building this stuff safely and effectively.
This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? If the AI can send emails, what stops it from accidentally emailing your entire contact list? The answer is simple. You do. The developer, that's you. You remain in complete control. Let's look at the principles that make sure of that.
The best way to build safely is to build smartly. First, keep your tools small and focused. One tool to find a contact, another tool to draft an email. Second, make them composable, so the AI can chain them together to handle more complex tasks. And ideally, try to make them idempotent. Now that's a fancy word, but it just means running a function multiple times has the same result as running it just once. Like setting a status to complete is idempotent. Adding $10 to an account? Not so much.
Think of this slide as your safety Bible. First, the principle of least privilege. If a tool only needs to read data, don't you dare give it permission to write data. Simple. Second, use allow lists. Tell the model exactly which tools it's allowed to use for a certain task. Third, redact sensitive data. Make sure private info never even gets to the model. And last but definitely not least, for any action that modifies data, sending an email, updating a database, always require a human to click approve. Always.
And one last crucial tip on safety. Log everything. Every single tool call, what arguments it used, what the result was, because trust me, when something eventually goes wrong, this log is going to be your absolute best friend for figuring out what happened.
Now, function calling is incredibly powerful, but it's not the only game in town for getting structured output from an AI. So let's quickly compare it to a couple of other popular methods, just so you know you're picking the right tool for the job.
Okay, this table breaks it down nicely. You want to use function calling when you need the AI to trigger a specific, predefined action. That's where you get the highest level of control. Now, if you just need some structured data, like a list of products in JSON format without actually doing anything, then JSON mode is your friend. And finally, there's MCP, or Model Chosen Parameters. It's a bit of an older method, kind of like asking the AI to fill in a template. It's less reliable, gives you less control. Honestly, for most tool use cases today, function calling is the clear winner for its sheer power and reliability.
Phew! We've covered the why, the how, the safety, and the alternatives. So let's wrap this up with the most important part: your practical, safe, step-by-step path to actually getting started.
Here's your roadmap. Please, don't try to build a fully autonomous agent on day one. Start small. In phase 1, just build read-only tools, things that search and fetch information. They can't do any harm. Once you're comfortable with that, move to phase 2. Introduce tools that can write data, but with that crucial human-in-the-loop approval step. And only after you've tested that thoroughly should you even think about phase 3, where you let specific, very low-risk tasks run all by themselves.
Really, the most important thing is to just get your hands dirty. So here's your starter checklist. First, define 3 simple tools and make sure they have a clear schema. Second, in your own code, validate every input you get from the model and handle errors gracefully. And third, from day 1, if a tool writes data, build in that approval step. Just do it.
And that's a wrap. We've seen how function calling is this incredible bridge from just chat to real meaningful action. It gives us a reliable and, more importantly, a safe way to empower our AI applications. So the only real question left is, now that your AI has hands, what are you going to build first? Thanks for tuning in.